Oh, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another interview with some ALTs. Today we are with Chelsea, who we're going to be interviewing. She is on her second year, or starting her second year, right? Of JET? Cool. Do you want to tell
I'm
us?
doing and ending my second year. Yeah.
Oh, ending your second year.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Experience. All right. Um, tell us. Oh, where are you located?
Yeah, so I'm Chelsea. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm living in Kagoshima, not in the city, more rural-ish area. So yeah, so on my second year now.
Ah, rural area. That is it. That's cool. That's similar to like where I'm at out in Motobu. But I feel like you're on the mainland, and I feel like the rural area over there is a bit different. Um, what years are you teaching over there? Are you in high school, junior high?
So I'm at elementary, junior high school, and I have one kindergarten.
Oh, you have the whole spectrum. That's wild. Okay, what is that like teaching like so many different age groups?
Mm, yeah, I think in the beginning it was an interesting pivot. One, because I hadn't taught English as a second language, and then teaching it at all different levels. I feel like I'm way more comfortable with it now, but I know what the textbooks are like. I know how to speak English in a way that my students can understand, which isn't the way that I think most people normally talk. Like learning how to slow down the pace, learning how to use like simpler words that I know that they know. Yeah, it's a very interesting range, and then the way that I interact with them and bond with them is totally different.
Okay, interesting. Now I'm teaching all high school students, and then I have one special needs school, which is like I have some younger kids there, but for the most part, everyone's a lot older. And I've talked to a lot of people who are working with younger kids, and it seems like a totally different experience than like what I'm doing. Like not similar at all. So that's all right. But since I know a lot of the people who have been asking for these interviews are new to coming out here to Japan, and since you've been here for 2 full years already, so already have all this experience down. Um, let me ask, what was it like when you first got here? And what lessons, like, what things do you wish you would have done differently that you did in the very beginning to like set up that now that you've been here for like 2 years, you maybe wish you had done like slightly differently?
mm. um, I I felt like I was as prepared as I could have been based on like the information that was given to me at the time. Like I knew I was going to be in elementary and junior high schools. I teach at 7 schools. So I knew that like I wouldn't have tons of time with my kids.
Yeah.
Um like especially at my smaller elementary schools that are like 40 students, I only see them twice a month. And so, even though the classes are smaller and it's easier to remember faces and names, I just don't get as much time with them as I would like. Versus, like, once a week, I'm at my big schools and it's just like everyone's a blur. I know, like, maybe 10 kids total out of like 200, 300 students. Um, so, I don't know if I would have prepared any differently. I think a lot of this job is just thrown into the fire pit and hoping that you come out with minimal burns, and then learning how to like protect yourself and prepare yourself mentally but also just like logistically with class.
Okay. Seven schools is actually insane. That's the most I've heard of anybody. Like
Oh wow.
I have three, and from what I understood, I thought that was the max until this moment. Like that's so much. How do you
Yeah.
are? I mean, you're in a rural area, so I'm assuming not many trains.
Yeah, so I use all of my schools are local, so I teach. So I live in Hioki City, which is like a collection of 4 towns. So I'm the only ALT in my town. I teach at all of the schools here. So I have two like big schools. Like my junior high school is just one, so all of my elementary students will go there. I have two large-ish elementary schools and then three really small ones, and then the kindergarten, which is just super cute. Um, yeah, I felt like it wasn't really, not that it wasn't fair, but that I felt oh wow, I'm gonna be really busy. Like, how much am I actually gonna see my students? I didn't think I'd be able to get as close to them since I don't see them as much. But I actually feel like my small schools, I have like a really good bond with them. I know all of the kids by name. And even though I'm only there like twice a month, I'm always like really excited to see them, and it feels like they're excited to see me. Um, yeah, and then at the bigger schools it's like the same feeling. I just can't remember as many students. And and then at junior high school I feel like the kids just get TFC. They're like, oh, I'm too cool, like the ALT's lame. So I like interact with the students who want to interact with me, but it definitely changes. Like, they're teenagers now, so they kind of, they're a little jaded and they're trying to figure themselves out.
Okay, that's still. I mean, it's good that you're able to still connect, especially at those smaller schools with everybody on that first name basis. I I'm so bad with names. I've only have three schools. I get most of them. Like I have them all at the special needs school, and I have a lot at my main school. But I have a bigger high school that I see the kids a lot less. Even though I'm there a decent amount, I maybe only have class with them maybe once or twice a month with each one, and it's a little harder. I'm trying my best. All right. I've had those moments where someone will say a name and I think it's a Japanese word because I don't speak Japanese. And it's just so embarrassing. Um, but no, I that's cool. So when you're getting around all these, I'm assuming you have a car as well.
Oh yes, that was in your question. So yeah, I have a car. I'm leasing it right now. I have folks who have like bought cars, but I knew I wasn't going to be here for a long time, and so I felt like leasing was about the same amount, cost wise. Especially when you include things like car insurance and like the vehicle inspection, which is like every 2 years. It's like really expensive. I don't know how much it is, but I don't have to worry about those things. And it's also nice because I get reimbursed from driving to and from school for gas. So I feel like the cost is like very, not minimal because I pay for my car, but like I don't have, at least I don't have to pay for the gas.
But you're the first person that I know of who actually leased a car. Um, everyone I know, I bought mine's was owned by my predecessor before me, so I just paid him, and it was pretty darn cheap. It's an older car, but everyone I know who's come out here who's either had to buy one new, they had to pay for it. A lot of people had to pay for it cash, which is like an insane amount of money up front. I didn't even know leasing was an option for like us because we're not native. So can you tell me more about that process and how you got that done?
Hmm. My so I'm a municipal ALT, which means I work at my board of education. I'm not hired by a specific school. So I have like an office that I go to that's like home base, and then I visit all of my schools. So the people in my office were like, there's this small car shop, like really small, like not like a dealership. It's literally like a mechanic
Oh,
who like leases cars. Really thick Kagoshima Ben accent, like I didn't speak any Japanese when I got here, couldn't understand anything. I kind of like speak Japanese now and I still don't understand anything because the dialect's really heavy. But they found this out, and I came as one of the first jets after the COVID restrictions were lifting. So me and a bunch of like, I think there were at least five ALTs, two CIRs, three ALTs who came into my town at the same time. So we were all just leasing our cars there. So I didn't have to figure out that process. They were like, "Do you want to do this?" And I was like, "Yes."
okay. And so they pretty much you just walked in and they kind of set the whole thing and it was all good to go. That is
Right. Yeah.
that is crazy because like I know some ALTs were having issues like anything involving a loan because they fear you could just leave. And I guess that just wasn't an issue that came up with you. That's wild. That's a vastly different experience than other people I've talked to dealing with car situations. Can I ask what kind of car do you have?
I have a K car, a Mitsubishi I. It's like a really, I don't know if you've seen pictures of it because I didn't know like what the Japanese cars were like here. They're very boxy, at least because I'm from the US. Like, they're very boxy, but I got one that kind of looks like a bug. Like,
Oh,
not like a Volkswagen Beetle, but like the headlights are kind of just like roundish, alien looking. So it's really cute. It's a K car, so it has like the smaller engine, like the smaller fuel tank, but it's perfect.
I have the K car as well, so I totally get you on that. It's definitely it's a very small, slow experience after coming from the United States. I had a Prius in the US. And I never thought a car would feel slower than the Prius until I hopped in my K car. And I'm like, why won't this go? It struggles to go past 80 kilometers per hour, which is, I think, like 40 or 50 miles per hour.
Yeah,
But
I think it's like 50 miles an hour.
oh my God, this thing is so. But hey, good gas mileage. It was cheap. It works for the area and environment. So I'm happy. Yeah. Okay, so you're leasing it. That's wild. That's cool. You said you're not planning to stay here that long. Is this going to be your last year, or are you going to go fourth and fifth? Do you know?
No, I'm going to be leaving. I'm preparing all the things that need to happen before I leave. And I actually just found out who my successor will be. So I'm really excited to start like giving them knowledge that I think is necessary for them to be here. But yeah, I felt like 2 years. When I came, I knew that like, okay, I want to stay 2 years. I wanted the first year to just experience everything, figure stuff out. Second year to like get to do it again, get to do it better. Um, but the work is very nice. It's a very easy job, at least at like elementary and junior high school. But it wasn't like fulfilling. It's not fully fulfilling for me. It's not using like all of like my skill sets that I have, and I felt like going into maybe a third or fourth year was going to get very repetitive. So it didn't like outweigh the benefits of getting to live in Japan, where you get to like have access to many things and travel. Um, yeah.
I understand. Actually, in the a lot of the group chats that have talked about this, everyone says that like the key amount is usually 2 to 3 years for you to get the full experience, and then after that, it's more like if you want to be a teacher or you want to live here permanently, people will like extend. But 2 to 3 years seems to be that good middle ground, especially if you like. I don't think I'm going to teach necessarily when I go back to America. I was a teacher before. Um, and so like career wise, teaching longer here isn't necessarily the best for me. So it's like I this will like the next year will be my last year. I'm only gonna do two.
Mm.
So I understand that. Um, but talk about travel and seeing around. I mean, you have your car. I know you're in a rural area. What's it like traveling to see the rest of Japan from your location?
Mm. I didn't I didn't know how the geography of Japan was until I got here. I had never heard of Kagoshima until I got my placement, and then I was like, "Cool, where is that?" Right? Because I feel like for a lot of people who are interested in Japan, we know about like Tokyo, Osaka,
Yeah,
Kyoto. We know like Hokkaido is a place,
yeah.
like, but nobody ever really talks about Kyushu. So I made it a goal in once I understood what was around me that I wanted to visit most of the prefectures in Kyushu and then like take trips to other places. So I've been to like most of the prefectures. I haven't been to Saga, which I feel like is the one that I forget the most because there's like Nagasaki, Miyazaki, Kumamoto, Oita. But I haven't been to Saga. I don't really know what's out there. Um, and then yeah, getting up to like central like Honshu. And in the summer before I go home, I'm planning a trip to Hokkaido so I can try to get a sense of like some of the different landscapes that's available in Japan. But I feel like it's pretty convenient. Kagoshima City has a Shinkansen stop, so it's really easy to take the bullet train to go places. And then like having my car, just paying the tolls is the fastest way to go.
I am known as the guy who will spend 30 extra minutes because I'm so cheap. I won't. I refuse to pay anything. I refuse. I told you earlier before we were recording that I went salsa dancing. So I yesterday I picked up my friend. She lives on the toll road an hour from me, driving normally an hour and a half. I picked her up, and then we were out till like 3, and she's like, "Are you just gonna like drive home?" I'm like, "Yes." Like, "Are you taking the toll?" I'm like, "Absolutely not." She like, "Take this money and take the toll home," because she knows I will spend an extra hour driving because I'm just the cheapest person on the planet. But I you should definitely take tolls. Don't be like me, guys. I fall asleep in my car, pull over at a Lawson, and pass out on a regular. Um, you say you have the Shinkansen to go. I'm so jealous of that. That's the one thing I wish. Living on like an island not connected to the mainland, because I'm in Okinawa, having to fly to like where ruins, not ruins, but it requires so much more planning for me to like see mainland. If you just a Shinkansen every hour, like you just hop on, like I'm so jealous. Like I could just be like, you know what, today I feel like going somewhere. I'm so jealous you can do that. Like, and it's the same cost as like the flight. So it's like it's just the ability to move. I'm so jealous. Um, and I don't know Kaido yet, so that sounds very very fun.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I hope so too. I haven't been yet, but I'm going with a friend, and she's been to Sapporo, so I'm excited to hopefully get to see it, especially in the summer, because I know a lot of like Hokkaido is known for being like this winter wonderland for their snow festival, and I'm like, I got the blizzard warning, like down here. They're
oh,
like, don't go to Hokkaido. There's like a blizzard warning this past winter. And I had some friends went, they had a wonderful time, but I was like, I think I'm good. I want to go in the summer and kind of just hang out.
okay, okay. I think I'm going to the winter when I go, but I feel you. I want to go and try and ski.
Mm,
That's yeah. But I have seen pictures of it during the summer, and it does look beautiful. There's like these pictures, like like really colorful flowering fields. Like it does look very, very beautiful.
mm,
Um. Okay. Well, now that we know that, man, you have the leased car, got the Shinkansen train. Um. What do you do? I mean, outside of when you're not teaching, like, are there any clubs or activities you take part in outside of just the teaching activities?
mm. So I'm not part of any school clubs. I will like attend like games or events that are hosted by my school when my school tells me that they're happening. I often feel that because I'm there so infrequently, like most of the teachers see them, every single day. They have meetings, they get notifications about things, but I'm there so infrequently that when something happens, I find out that day, and then they're just like, "Do you want to come?" And I'm like, "Okay." Um, so, like for example, this morning I did rice planting, and this event had been planned at least a month or two out, but I found out this past week. They're like, "Hey, do you want to come?" And I'm like, "Sure, of course I want to come, but thanks. It's kind of late. It's a good thing I wasn't busy this weekend." Um, so I guess whenever I get invited to events, I try to go to them as much as I can. Outside of that, since I arrived in Japan, I've been taking like Japanese conversation lessons with a teacher. Just like I go to her house, she just lives near me, like 10 minutes. So that's been really helpful of like being able to navigate around a rural area where most people don't speak English or they won't think to speak English to me. It's nice that they don't assume, but that means I have to work really hard to get around and know what's happening. And then like hanging out with my friends. I was hosting like weekly board game nights, just like with other ALTs, often going out on the weekends, either like to go watch a movie. If you haven't seen the new Spider-Man movie, it is A plus. It is so good.
Are,
Highly recommend.
are you ready for this?
Yes, please tell
So
me.
I was supposed to go today, but I canceled because of our interview.
Oh no! That makes me feel so bad. The movie would have been way worth it. It's so good. I want to go watch it again.
My
Uh,
friend, he starts in 23 minutes. The one my friends are going to go.
you got to go right now. We'll finish later.
Too far. It's okay. It'll take me an hour to drive to the movie theater. It's okay.
Oh, dang it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like just going out, trying to do different events. So I don't know how it works in Okinawa, but we have like a block system in Kagoshima where like the different regions are broken up so that ALTs kind of have like a group of other ALTs and other CIRs who are working together. So this past year I was block leaders, just trying to like arrange events for us to meet up somewhat frequently. So the last event we did soba making, which was really cool and unique. The one before that, I think, was at the beginning of the year for New Year's, and where I live is near the beach, so we did like a cold dip, like a cold swim in the ocean for New Year's. So yeah, I think just trying to like figure out what is very unique to Japan that is very difficult to find like online, because I feel like the imagery of Japan and why people want to come here, at least from the content that I see now, is like very standard. It's like very like popular, like go like learn how to make matcha and like try on kimonos in Kyoto, and then like go here and like do this exhibit or like get to eat sushi. And I'm like, that's my life, dude. Like this is not new to me. So I want to try really local artisan experiences. Um, and so I'm trying to like do those things before I leave, and it becomes much more difficult to have access to them.
That makes sense. That's also a really good idea. I like that. I'm thinking about it because I'm actually for we have blocks in Okinawa too, but we also have a Okijet, which is like the entirety of Okinawa. I'm actually treasurer for it, and so I'm like that might be a good idea for something for us to do. I might need to set that up. As we were just talking about possible future events to try and engage everybody a bit more. Um, that's I like that. Um, but yeah, okay. So I you say you have a lot of your ALT friends that you meet up and do your board games and things like that. And you also say you somewhat speak Japanese. Have you been able to make a lot of Japanese and local friends as well?
Mm, I think it's intimidating for me to approach people just in general. That just might be an introvert thing. I think that's just me. But I have made like Japanese friends, but like through mutual friends, like that they were friends, like my friends were friends with Japanese friends, invited them to group events. So I actually just had a goodbye party for one of my friends. She's moving to Kumamoto. um, I'm gonna miss her a lot, but I think that the friends that I have tended to make have also been people who are interested in speaking English. So it's like a mutual thing, right? Like I'm interested in learning Japanese. They want to practice their English. It feels like a mutually beneficial relationship. I also feel like as a woman, it is I am less approached by people randomly compared to my guy friends who are often white and they just get approached by people constantly, mostly by other like men. Versus like if a man approached me, I would be like, "Oh, why are you talking to me again?" It's just like a safety thing.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's I feel like my experience is just different, but that doesn't mean it is for everybody. Of course, I'm just not naturally an extrovert and wanting to go out and meet and put myself out there in that way, I guess.
Okay. Okay. No, that is an interesting difference, especially I where I live in Okinawa. Uh, it's a very I feel like it's a very different vibe than mainland. It's very laid back. Um, but I get approached all the time, and maybe it is partially because I'm a guy. Um, of people like wanting to speak English with me all the time. It's not really hard making those random friends here. But I also feel like I have a lot more English speakers than you do.
Hmm.
Based on your I mean, I'm by the biggest military base in Japan. That was actually it made me mad. I was like, Mom, I'm gonna go to Japan. It's gonna be all cool. I'm gonna be special. And in my head, it's like people are gonna look at me like it's crazy, like the first black guy they've ever seen. And I get to Okinawa and I'm like, we're everywhere. I'm not special at all. I'm like just another guy. Probably
Yeah,
the
versus like for me, like being in a rural area. And I think based on like my haircut, and especially when most people were still wearing masks, I think people assumed I was Japanese just from like this way up. And because of my haircut, I've had people come up to me like, "Oh my gosh, you look really Japanese." And then they hear me speak and they're like, "You're not Japanese." I'm very confused. Like I think a week ago I was at a restaurant eating lunch with some friends, and we were just chatting, of course, in English. And there was like a nice like two older women who just like kept turning around to like stare at me. And my friend was like, "Did you notice I'm staring at you? I think they thought you were Japanese and they got really confused because you don't sound Japanese at all." And I was like, "Oh, oh no." So yeah.
That's funny. That also might be maybe one of the reasons you're not as approached as often if they're thinking you're Japanese.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Um. Well, with that being said, are people friendly in your area? I mean, it is Japan, but like, are people still like friendly towards you? Are people like more standoffish? What is that like?
I think it depends on who I put. Mostly, like if I'm in a large group with a lot of other foreigners, we definitely get scared out because we are just louder than everybody else. And then if we're out and we're drinking, then that's a different, then everybody's like that. But if I'm just by myself, no, I think folks are really friendly, especially when I'm around and I meet people and they're like, oh, like my daughter goes to this school, my son goes to this school. I'm just like talking to parents of the kids that I work with. So that's really nice. But yes, I think that so far in my experience, like people have been very hospitable, very generous, like with their time. I don't know how this is for you, but because I'm in a rural area, I tend to get a lot of produce. Um, like from my schools that like we're growing at school, or like people are like, I have these extra vegetables. Do you want some? I'm like, yes.
That is not something I experience.
Okay.
Um, Vegetables and fruits are so expensive in Okinawa, and I like try to eat healthy, especially because like I off camera I told her I do martial arts, I compete, and I'm trying to lose weight right now for a competition, and so vegetables would be nice. It'd be nice to have a lot of vegetables to eat while I'm trying to lose like 10 pounds. But it's so expensive. I'm jealous. The best I have is we have these little cubbies where people who are farmers will put like produce and you like put money in on the side type thing. Um, but it's not nothing like what you just explained. That is, oh, I wish. I wish. Oh,
We
no.
also have those cubbies that is like based on the honor system, right? That you grab a bag of produce. Like in the winter, it's like mikan, or I don't know. I haven't seen much produce out there recently, but like in the fall, it's like loaded with stuff, and then you just like drop 100 yen in the box. It's literally honor system. If I'm driving somewhere with like one of my teachers or like somebody from my office, they'll often be like, "Hey, do you want to pull over? Do you need anything?" I'm like, "Isn't this work time? What are we doing?" Very confused, but also very just like people are so generous. That is just so nice. People have given me like branches of like just like flowers from their trees. They're like, "Hey, do you want these?" I'm like, "You're so nice. Thank you." Yes.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah. That is sweet. That is very very nice. Also, we talk about like the honor system set up here in Japan. It just makes me think about like how safe this country is compared to America. Like I'm from the Bay, I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, and let me just say, honor system doesn't exist there. Um, so it is just amazing being in a place where people are like, I'll just leave this out, and people put their money in, and no one will steal the money, and it'll be fine. And I'm like, what world do I live in right now? Oh, actually, I think
Mm.
one of the questions that we were given was, what is, and I kind of discussed this in the last interview, is like, what is the safety like? Like, how safe is it in the countryside with petty crime? And I'm assuming it doesn't exist because it doesn't exist for me.
I think it's like I think there's two parts to it. One is that I don't think there's much petty crime. I think because the way that Japan is structured as a very collectivist society compared to the US, right, where it's very individualistic, everybody's watching out just for themselves. Yeah, that honor system really is pervasive. It kind of surprises me. Like, um, one of the stores in town is just like a gyoza shop that's totally unmanned. Like they just drop off frozen gyoza in the freezers, and then you just take which ones you want, you pay for it, and you want. There's nobody in the store. Like
What?
that's insane to me. Like that would not exist. At least in California, could
No,
not happen. Could
no,
not.
no, never. That is
Um,
insane. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
it's really very cool. The gyoza was also very delicious. It's really good. Because it's like homemade. But I think the other side of like safety in Japan is that I don't really read much news, like Japanese news, because I don't know what to look for. And um, the other thing is that because Japan is like very collectivist, it also has a very big investment in reputation. And so I think when there are crimes or things that happen, it's much more about saving face and like not out really talking about things that are happening. Maybe like everybody knows about it, but nobody's actually like saying stuff about it. Like I haven't heard news specifically, but I've heard like stories from other ALTs where like a vice principal was like stealing money from the school. Not in our town, but just like a story that they had heard. But it like didn't show up in the papers. Like people knew about it, but there were like no outright consequences for it. And in order to like save face, in order to obtain like uphold the reputation of like what Japan and what needs to happen in order for things to be considered safe. So I think it's like a double-edged sword.
That is interesting because it makes sense. I mean, I know that uh, Japan has had like some negative talk about like trying to adjust the way history sees Japan in the past and things like that, and really trying to save face. Um, but
Yes.
it's also interesting because one of the ways in which I hear they kind of shut down people doing crime is public shaming. At least in my area, you do something bad, what they do is they like, for example, there's a teacher who got a DUI, but she was technically it was like the next day, like it was just still in her system or whatnot. But she got fired and publicly on like she was on the news and like she can't be a teacher anywhere anymore, and it was like a public shame kind of. Which to me it's like, yo, it was the next day. Chill out a little bit, all right, guys. Like, it's a little much. She had to apologize in front of the entire school. Like, so I guess you can have both sides. I guess obviously I think stealing money from the school is a bit bigger of a deal. So maybe that like on that level they push it under the rug. And on like, I mean DUIs are still bad, but it wasn't like she was drinking that same night. It was like the next morning situation, and like that was like a public
Mhm.
shame thing. And so I'm like, that's it is kind of wild how they play those two things. But as
Mhm.
I do think, have you ever had to worry about someone stealing your wallet or your phone?
Oh no.
Yeah. See.
Mm-mm. Nothing like that. If anything, right? It's like I've had my friend forget her phone at a convenience store and like 3 hours later remembered and went back and it was still there.
Yeah.
No biggie, right? Or like going to like my interactions and like with police back at home or like in the US, it's like no, you do not want the police involved at
Yeah.
any cost because it's just going to escalate way more than it needs to. And that is not the imagery in Japan. It
No.
is very much like no, the police are here to help you. If you need something, like go tell the police. So I'm just like my gut reaction is literally like don't like really don't ask for help. They're not here to help. Um, that is also like all of the things that I've said are just on my experience as a foreigner looking into Japanese society. Like I don't know factually if those things are like upheld in the same way. I
Well,
don't know. It's hard. It's hard, right? I have an outsider perspective.
it is different from us. Like we won't have. I remember with talking to my old supervisor, I'd be like, "Man, Japan just seems to have it all together," and his response was, "It's because you're not from here." It's like everyone has problems. It's just when you get to a new place, those problems aren't like they don't affect you the same, especially if you're not a native. And so it seems like yes, like it seems great to you, but we have our own issues. But it was interesting talking about the police thing. He did say that the police connection with like
Right.
no was very different. Um, like even the police rules for like using force are very like they're so strict here, and I didn't like understand how strict it's like it's crazy. Um, even to the point of like some things I think are a little wild, like when it comes to like will they follow you in a police chase or not? I heard in a it was Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. I swear it's so bad. They're like you go past a certain speed, the police won't chase you. And I'm like, that can't be true. And that supervisor is like, actually, if the chase is too dangerous, they will leave you alone. I'm like, what is happening? What world is this? That would never happen in America. like,
Versus in America, like the Coast Guard is involved. You got
yeah,
like jets after you shooting missiles on the freeway. Like it doesn't matter. They will stop you at all costs.
they will stop
Like
at all costs. That being said, they don't have crazy issues like that in general. There's not many police chases in this country to start with. But yeah, that's crazy.
right.
Um, well, I mean, okay, you seem to have a lot of different experience with a lot of things. What was this one I want to hit here? So I'm gonna go back a little bit because earlier we had talked about your car and how you were able to get at least, and that had me thinking, and I forgot to bring it up. What was it like when you like first got here, setting up things with like with like your bank or your phone plan, did you get any kind of hassle? Because you got your car was so like seemed to be so easy and like going through, but I actually had like quite a bit of you don't speak Japanese, so we're gonna like not work with you issues when I got here. Like, did you get anything like that?
Mm. So I think going back to the fact that my office was like incredibly helpful when I first got here. So I have two supervisors. One of them is like the ALT supervisor. The other is like my local supervisor who just like helps in my office for things. So I guess the duties were kind of divided, but both of them were just so friendly and like truly wanting to help me. So one of my supervisors spoke English, which was just like a godsend. So on the first day that I arrived to my city, they had me open up my bank account. They had me register as like a resident in this town. And those processes I was able to do with him because he spoke English, so he's able to explain things to me. Setting up things like utilities, it was a lot of like being on Google Translate and just like speaking. One person spoke into it, translated, spoke it back.
Wow.
But like those, I inherited my apartment from my predecessor. They had left like a couple of months before I got here because of COVID, but we were able to still like figure out like restart all of my utilities. Like things were very prepared for me when I got here, and I think I was very lucky with that because I know for many ALTs you're just like left alone to like here pay all of this money up front to get a car, to get your apartment, and then like furnish your apartment with basic appliances, right? Like I didn't really have to worry about those things, and I think I was super lucky in that way.
I always when I hear the story of the ALTs who had to like get their own apartment and pay like the key deposit and the all these like it's like it's so much money. I'm not even like all the random fees to start up is insane. It's one of the reasons like I tell people when I was going to all the meetings with Jet, they were like, have like $3,000. I'm like, no, have more. That's a lie. If you have to start up with any
You
of
need
these,
more.
yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, luckily, I was similar. My apartment was my predecessors, but it's also owned by my school district, my prefecture, and so my rent here is I have a 3 bedroom for like $115 a month. So it's like
Wow, amazing.
cheap. It's a steal. Um, but like most of my friends are paying like 300-400 American dollars and had to like a month, and then also had to pay like all these fees up front. It cost them almost $2,000 just to get into their house. Like insanity. Um, but it also seems like I mean when I went to that bank time, I was with my supervisor. He spoke Japanese, and I was still having issues. So I'm happy you didn't seem to have any of those problems. Like, what about when you got like your phone plan? Did you have issues with that at all? And what is your phone plan? That's a common question.
So yeah.
Uh,
Oh, so I got mobile and I got it during orientation, like when I first arrived in Tokyo. So and then I just never switched because it was like an English provider. It really seemed like a hassle to try to switch. And I think a year later, so my first year in, I tried to switch to Rakuten.
uh,
Um, and I just had a lot of issues. I think that was like my personal experience. I was basically told like, oh, you can't buy just the SIM card. You'd also have to get a Japanese phone. And I kept asking them why, and they were just like, it's just the policy. One of my friends, her cousin lives in Japan. She's Japanese. She also works for Rakuten, and she was like, "That's bullshit. Like, that's not how this works." So it was just like me working with this one particular store. It was really difficult, and I just gave up because it didn't seem like worth the hassle. My internet is fine. I use my phone as a hotspot while I'm at school. I can't connect to the Wi-Fi, so I was like, this is enough. Like for me, I'm okay paying as much as I do. I think I pay like 4,500 yen a month for like 30 gigs. I'm like, this is plenty. Like honestly, I'm good. So
okay.
it just wasn't worth it for me, and I feel like a lot of things just aren't. Like getting a credit card. Tried getting a credit card, wasn't worth it. I was just like,
Yeah,
okay, it's fine.
yeah. No, credit cards. Like, I I can't get a debit card because I don't speak Japanese. A debit card, so I know I'm not getting a credit card. Um, but your experience with
I also
Rakuten,
don't have a debit card either. I just have like the bank card.
yes. Okay, so it's not just me. All right. Yeah. When I went in, they were like, "No, you have to speak Japanese to get the debit card because we don't have anyone who works at our bank in the debit card department who speaks English." And so the bank I'm with it's a Okinawan bank, which is also crazy because I'm like, of all the prefectures outside of maybe Tokyo, you have no, even including Tokyo, you probably have the most English speakers. How do you not have like an English speaking person at the bank? But I guess all the military people have their own bank. I don't know. But
Mm.
no, I mean, but you are not alone with Rakuten. Everyone I know who has gotten it has had issues. Either my friend Elizabeth, it was, oh, you don't speak Japanese, go to Y Mobile across the street. We don't want to deal with you. Or like my other friend had went through the same situation that you did. So it's like Rakuten has a great like for the price and what you get, it's like so cheap for like unlimited gigs and everything, but it's a hassle for non-native speakers. I have Ahamo. It's 100 gigs for about 40 or 4,000 yen. Um, but yeah, no, I definitely feel you on that. Have you dealt with any like prejudice things other than maybe that since you've been here?
Mm, I definitely understand like that feeling of like we don't want to work with you because we assume that this is just going to be really difficult. I can't think of like any particular experiences, but I know like sometimes like if I'm going out shopping or like doing like the Rakuten thing and being like, we just really don't want to deal with you. And at that time, like my Japanese was okay. It's definitely better now, but it was okay. And I was able to like, I was like, oh, can we use Google Translate? And they were using Google Translate too back to me and they were just like, we can't do it. And I was like, but why?
Uh,
um, but for the most part, I honestly think it's been okay. And I think it's because I put in effort to speak Japanese as best as I can in like my very broken Japanese. I think it makes things a little bit easier.
okay,
But I can't think of an instance where there was just like outright prejudice. So that's good.
okay, that's good. That's good. I think I have had a few of those, so it's good that you haven't had to deal with that. Um, oh, are you there? I think you might have froze. No! Is it me or is it
Oop, I
you?
lost you. Oh,
Hey,
okay.
okay, hold
I lost
on.
you for a second.
Can you hear me? Okay, and we are back. Technical issues have been fixed. Okay, I totally forgot where we left off. I don't remember at all.
Don't think it matters.
Oh, okay. So here's a question that I haven't asked. Healthcare in your area. Since you've been here longer, have you had a chance to really like go and deal with healthcare issues? And what?
Mm, yeah. So I have been to the hospital more than I would like. I actually have food allergies. I have a peanut or I have a nut allergy. And so I actually went to the hospital last year because I accidentally ate nuts. I had to use my EpiPen. I was at school, so my teacher was very gracious and like took me to the hospital in the middle of school. I was like, "Thank you so much. I really need to go, but like, thank you." Um, and so I stayed overnight at the hospital. Um, and I mean, it was like the idea of like going to a hospital in the US, right? It's like thoughts of like, is my insurance going to cover this? Like, how much is this going to cost? Like, how long am I going to have to be paying for this? Yada. Can I like even accept the help that they give me? Like the medications they're prescribing me, things like that, right? So I had those thoughts while I was here. I knew it was like we have like national healthcare coverage, which is just a blessing, but I didn't know how much it was going to cost, and it didn't cost that much. Honestly, very surprised. So I think the hard thing is navigating going to the doctor when you don't speak Japanese. It's already hard enough going to the doctor, right? And trying to like explain what you're going through, your symptoms, like, and feeling like you're believed when you go to the doctor and that they can help you. And adding a layer of like, I don't know all of the words of like what you're asking me. Like I remember I went to the hospital and they asked me like, did I poop? Like in the last 12 hours and I didn't know the word for poop. Like I just random stuff.
I feel it.
Um, But like medication is very cheap. Like going to see a doctor is like very cheap. Like almost never needing like an appointment. And I think going to like I live in a rural area. Going to the largest hospital in my area is like it's like modern. There's like up to date equipment. That was really it's just really nice. It's easier to navigate. I've been to a small clinic nearby where I live for a different reason. And because I didn't speak Japanese, I didn't know what the procedure was going to be. And so there were just a lot of shocks along the way. But everything worked out. I was fine. I got the medication that I needed. So I would say overall, it's fine. And if you need to go to the hospital, like taking somebody that you trust that speaks Japanese, that you feel comfortable and safe with, is definitely the way to go. So the first, I think, 2 times I went, I brought my supervisor with me, and she is like a second mom to me. So it was it was nice.
Okay, no, that's nice. That's nice. A question: when you go to the big hospital, do you have to go to the like smaller clinic first? Is that a thing for you?
I'm able to just walk in, and then I just see like a GP when I go.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like not an emergency. So yeah. But even
Okay.
like not needing an appointment, which is just really nice, and not waiting like 3 hours to see a doctor is also very nice.
That's. I haven't been to a big hospital yet. I've been to a clinic. I tried to go to one big hospital near me, and they told me to go to the clinic first. And then
Hmm.
I didn't want to take me because I didn't speak Japanese. So,
Mm.
and again, my supervisor stepped in, came with me, and helped me out because I had they thought, oh no, I had COVID. Or we thought I ended up just having the normal flu, but we thought I had COVID,
Mm.
and so yeah, that was an interesting situation. I'm glad. It seems like you've had a good experience in general dealing with the hospitals and things like that. So, and they are a lot cheaper than back home. That is for
Hmm.
sure. That is definitely a benefit. Just that whole difference.
Hmm.
Um, okay. Well, let's get that. Let's see what other questions that were given to us on here. Gone over the housing. Um, we really went through everything. Just through like our natural conversation, we naturally ended up answering a lot of the questions that were on the list.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, we killed this thing. Oh, here's one. I don't think this is a problem for you, but because one of the questions were about clothes, but I feel like
Hmm.
we fit within the normal size of
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think um so yeah, I think if you're sizing in Japan is quite small. It's hard to find clothes for like tall folks and fat folks, and so finding things that you use on a regular basis from stores that that you have access to while you're still at home and bringing them is definitely the way to go. I feel like there's many questions about, especially now with new ALTs coming, they have lots of questions about like what should I be packing and stuff. Yeah, even like shoes. I know shoes are like hard to find for some of my taller friends.
Yeah,
So
that
buying
was the
stuff
one.
online helps a lot.
Shoes was the one thing that was hard for me. My feet, I'm a 10 and a half,
Oh yeah.
and the largest average size you can get in Japan is a 10.
Oh dang.
Yeah. So I ended up finding, where was I? I walked a hole in my running shoes. I went to this spot by my house at a huge mall. No one had my size. And then when I went to Kyoto, I went to a shoe shop. They had one pair of shoes, happened to be a very nice pair. So, luckily it was a good pair, but one pair of shoes in my size. So if you have big feet, bring shoes. Um, but yeah, if you're not like if you're not 6 foot, I don't think it's too crazy difficult, you
No.
know, clothes wise. But shoes is definitely
Yeah. I would say for like women who wear bras, like if you have a larger chest size, definitely bring um like bras because it's
yeah.
just going to be harder to find. Uh yeah. Other like yeah, do you have any other suggestions of like things that have been hard for you to buy since you've been here?
Mostly it's just that. Like I said, my body type, I'm not tall. I'm average height in Japan, so not majorly. I've had a really easy time getting what I need for the most part. Some things I've had to adjust brands for the most part.
Yeah.
The,
Hmm.
the main difference for things that you're used to back home. Um, but like for major necessities, like I remember one thing that a lot of people were telling me was to bring American deodorant because the deodorant here is not as strong. But like I use this and it's not that bad. It's like 864 mint. It's not that bad. Like it's a little weaker than American deodorant, but you'll be fine. Um, yeah. So for the most part, everything's been pretty simple clothes wise, and yeah, no problem. I would actually encourage you, for those listening, to not, if you are in the average size of Japanese people, not to bring too many American clothes, because like the clothes here are designed for the heat and the weather. They have like, I've never had a polo that felt that comfortable and wick sweat that easily as I do as the one I bought here. Like, don't, my ones in America suck. I don't wear any of my American dress clothes at all.
Mm.
Like, they're just like, they're sticky compared to the stuff I actually buy here. It just doesn't feel as good.
Mm. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like bringing essentials with you, of course, right? But I think even like my style has evolved since being here, like getting inspiration from other people. Uh, it's very interesting because I think Kagoshima is quite conservative. So actually, just much more conservatively, I like not showing like any skin than I would like in California. But yeah, I agree with you, right? Like the clothes are built for the weather that we're in. So like here in like southern Japan, for the humidity and for the heat, and then like it makes sense. Like, don't buy winter clothes where you are. If you're going to go to Hokkaido, like, buy winter stuff that's designed for that area. And it just makes it easier for you to travel when you get here.
I went to the snow uh, in December. I went out to, what is it called? Nagano. I bought
Oh,
myself, and I put on, they have these special, like, long sleeve undershirts that hold in the heat. And I had that, a normal shirt, the jacket, and I was fine. And then when I went out there, they actually had this like kimono they gave me at the a place I was staying. And I went out in the snow, and I'm telling you, Japan knows something about insulation that America has not figured out. Because I'm walking in the street in the snow in like barely anything, and I'm so toasty. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what is this technology? Like, why are your clothes so much better? That I can walk in the snow in a kimono and be fine. My legs are darn near out and I'm not cold. Like, I don't understand. Like, definitely buy your stuff here. Like,
yeah.
I think I actually like a lot of the Japanese clothes I prefer anyway. So, yeah.
Same, same. A lot of my clothes back at home were from Uniqlo anyways. And so getting to come here and just be like, cool, from the source.
Wait, Uniqlo in Cali?
Oh, yeah.
What? Where in California are you from? Never asked.
Well, I'm from SoCal.
Okay.
I'm from Orange County, but yeah, we definitely have. There's Uniqlo in the Bay. What are you talking about?
Honestly, there might be, and I just wasn't enlightened to the beauty of
That's fair.
Uniqlo. To look,
Mm-hmm.
but when I go back to America, that will be one of my main spots because it's the clothes are great.
Yeah. They also size different in America compared to Japan. And so that might work for you. It actually worked better for me to come to Japan because I'm 5'1". So I'm like, cool, it's actually sized for me, which is nice.
No, the first time being in Japan is the first time I'm a large and extra large for the first time in my life. Being here, I finally get to feel big. Um,
Everything's a fake. Everything is constructed. Nothing is real.
yeah. Oh, okay. So here's one. Outside of the clothes and stuff, going back to work. Um, are there any cultural uh things you should be aware of going into like your first few days, meeting your coworkers, your boss, maybe even omiyage? Like, what are the cultural things you should be aware of that you should do and things you maybe shouldn't do?
That's a good question. I think let's start with omiyage. Omiyage are like souvenirs that many Japanese folks, when they take trips, will bring back as like some type of like individually wrapped cookie or biscuit and then pass them out to all their coworkers in their office. I see it as a nice gesture, and I don't know if it means, I think for maybe some folks it might be like, sorry for imposing on you because I left. Here's something from like where I came back from. And I don't think there, at least for me, there were not expectations that I brought it with me. So that's just nice. I also didn't give them out to like all of my schools because I go to 7 of them. Versus like I just gave out omeyage for my office. I got like chocolates from Steve's Candies. Chocolate
Okay.
isn't a very popular omeyage. It's mostly just like cookies and biscuits and like Japanese kind of snacks. So yeah, maybe like something nice for your supervisor, like something like unique to your hometown or to your home state or home country. That would just be like a cool souvenir that they maybe weren't expecting. Um, in terms of like first meeting like your coworkers, again, like I had 7 schools, so I had like 7 like introductory meetings with like the principals and some of the teachers. Um, I think just like those conversations were in Japanese, so like the little Japanese that I did speak, like being able to introduce myself in Japanese was, helpful, and I think it showed to them like, oh, like I am interested in Japan and trying to like navigate and learn things.
Okay.
Um, that's definitely helpful. Like whatever you can introduce yourself as, I think this like being able to say hello, nice to meet you. My name is Chelsea. I'm American, and then ending with like yoroshiku onegaishimasu, like ending the conversation like please take care of me. Thank you so much for your time. Um, yeah, and I think just and like overall just like being curious and like knowing that we don't know what's going on, and so we really need to be open to learning from everything. And I think people understand that we don't know what the customs are, like that this isn't like we shouldn't know what's going on. And so hopefully people don't expect that from us. And I really didn't have anybody expecting me to know like I don't know, the customs of like working in like a Japanese work environment.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone's relatively patient with you as you kind of learn the process, which is really nice.
Yeah.
I found out I was accidentally insulting my supervisor, my vice principal, and didn't know.
Like, but how?
Well, you know how when you speak to a superior, you're supposed to say like the full phrase of certain words, like
Mm,
oh, the entire thing. Apparently, saying Ohio to a supervisor is rude, and I didn't know that.
mm,
It's
mm, mm.
like up or like morning, like the short version. You're supposed to say good morning, and I would always go Ohio, and he would just. I remember the first time he looked at me weird, but then he just got over. And then later, a coworker pulled me aside and was like, "Stop doing that." I was like, "Oh, I didn't know that was like considered a thing to do." And like I would say shorter, like the short, friendly versions of words to like the vice principal and the principal and the office manager, not knowing that I was using the short, friendly version that like I'm not supposed to use with them.
Right, right. Oh,
Oh,
that's a good one. That's a good point, right? So like saying the full phrase like "ohayo gozaimasu," "arigato gozaimasu." A phrase I say every day, like multiple times a day. It's like "otsukare desu," like "thank you for your work," right? Um, like I wouldn't go up to somebody and be like "otsukare," like it's super casual. It'd be like talking to like my friend and stuff like that. Um, and then
I
I
didn't.
think for your teachers, like always addressing them as sensei, like status is a very big thing here. So like talking to your principal, their titles are usually like Kocho sensei.
Yeah.
Instead of you wouldn't just call them by their name or like Nani Nani san. You would be like, this person sensei, how are you today? Yeah.
It definitely, yeah. Those were things that I wish someone had told me before
Mm.
because I made a lot of the mistakes you just made. You just mentioned not to say one, but like Oscare, I did
Mm.
that. Like, and then my first supervisor, he would say domo instead of
Yeah.
domo mas. He would just say domo, like when he'd leave, like say when he'd buy something at the conveni, which I found out later is like casual even for Japanese people, like to each other. And I definitely just went domo to like a couple, which is like so casual.
Yeah. And it's hard too because I think as I like learned more Japanese, so when I did a semester of Japanese at my community college before I came, I was like lucky to have the time to do that because of complications with COVID. So in my textbooks, they would teach us polite Japanese first. So it actually was really hard for me to learn casual Japanese. But I feel like when you're having a conversation, especially in a language you don't know, you just repeat back what you hear if you know what it means, right? And I didn't realize that like when I would talk to my supervisor, they would say things in casual Japanese. They say it to me, so I just repeat it back to them like a parrot, and then I'd be like, that was not the right form of that word. Like if somebody was like, "Oh, are you coming?" They'd be like, "Kuru, kuru," like come, and I'd be like, "Oh, kuru," and I'd be like, "It's not. It's kimasu." Like I'm gonna. There's a different word for that, or like a different form of that word, and it's still hard for me. I mess up all the time, but I think people understand that I'm trying my best.
It, it,
and
it,
and they're not important. It's like literally not important, like doing that, because they know that you're not a native speaker.
yeah, they don't look at you like the vice principal never looked at like he never held it against me. He knew I didn't know what I was doing, so like they don't hold those things against you because they know. Um, yeah, yeah, because that was one of the other things. Like one of the major any fuck. What's it called? I can't even say this word. Faux pas. Yeah,
Like a faux pas.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
that was the closest one I could think of for a faux pas in the staff room. I did when I read the word fox pass in my head before I was like,
It's okay. We're only conditioned to know two languages right now. Like French words, they don't count. They're
yeah.
not. They don't exist. I have a question for you. Because I know that you live in Okinawa. It's like I'm assuming it's like a more expensive place to live compared to where I live in like a ruralish area. So I wanted to see like how is the ALT salary for you? Do you feel like it's enough money for you to live in the
But
area that you are?
Okinawa is actually the poorest prefecture, so
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh my gosh.
yeah, relatively inexpensive compared to a lot of other places. And again, I have my beautiful housing set up. But my issue is I have some American bills I have to pay every month,
Hmm.
and that exchange rate sucks.
Especially like before the country opened, it was really bad.
Yeah.
So,
So it could be better, but mostly because of needing to pay those American bills. If I didn't have any American bills to pay every month, like say you're someone who's just coming straight out of college, maybe your loans are deferred, or even if you're just paying like the minimum on your loans, um, it's doable. It's definitely doable. Uh, like rent here, not mine, but the average is probably about 400 American dollars. Um, so around 50,000 yen, kind of situation. Um, for your rent, food is cheap, minus vegetables. So like you're eating a lot of starch and meat, but it's definitely doable, especially at the convenies. You can get soba for like really nice, high quality soba for 700 yen. Um, for like any meal at like a really nice restaurant. So food is not bad. Um, gas is nothing too crazy. Um, I think it's 150 yen a liter for like regular right now.
yeah. Or it's like 160 maybe regular. Yeah.
It yeah.
I still
Um,
don't understand how that converts back into like US gallons, like dollars for US gallons. I don't know,
I don't
but
either.
I tried to do the math before, and I feel like gas is probably really equitable across like the world living in like an urbanish area.
Yeah, I do know that I spoke to someone who said like the gas prices are somewhat similar to America. Like they're actually kind of high.
Mm. Or maybe to California. I have a friend here who's from Nebraska, and
Mhm.
she's like, yeah, gas is like $3,
Oh yeah,
less than
okay.
that.
California, not the southern states in America. Their gas is like way lower.
Yeah. Yeah, ours is like, I think it's like 5 now. I'm really not looking forward to moving home and having my cost of living go up.
It's so much higher. The fact that I mean, do the exchange rate. I get paid about after taxes, maybe $1,800 a month, and I live comfortable here in Japan, and I send like $500 home every month that I'm not even using to like live, and I'm living comfortably here. Like that would not be feasible at all in California.
No.
So one thing I love about the country is it is so much like the cost of living is so much lower. The average income, while it's not high, it's enough that you can live a rent like a comfortable enough life without like I mean the work life balance in this country isn't the greatest. They do have some work practices I'm not a huge fan of, but it's you can live and go out and have a comfortable lifestyle and not stress as much as I feel like you would in California.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly agree. Also, I think we're not living in Kyoto, like not Kyoto, in Tokyo,
Oh
where
god.
I feel like it's just because it's a big metropolitan area, it is more expensive. It is more difficult to find an apartment. So really,
I
like very, like they say in the JET program, every situation's different. So
I hear Tokyo, if you're not in student housing, has I mean teacher housing. I know some people that have teacher housing there, so it's like my situation. It's not so bad, but I know there are people like who spend like 800. So like all the money I'm spending to America, they're spending all of that, and like what would like all the rent prices here. Like it's insane. It's like twice the rent.
mm,
Like I would cry. Honestly, if I got Tokyo and knew I had to also pay full rent, I may not have been able to afford to come here. So
mhm.
like definitely every situation is different because like you and me, I feel like have much cheaper situations. Like our living,
Oh yeah, definitely.
yeah. Oh, you have glasses. I also have glasses. Here's a question: have you had to go to an eye appointment and maybe like order contacts or glasses since you've been here?
I actually just got these glasses last week, so that's a great question.
Yo,
um, so I haven't had to go get contacts. I think if you need to get contacts, you do have to have an eye appointment. They have to like check your prescription. And I know that for eye things, anyways, you're supposed to get an eye check every 2 years. So, if you bring it from home, you have a prescription, you bring it from home, maybe you can use it, but I'm not sure what that process is. For buying glasses, it's easier. There are a lot of companies that, like in the glasses store itself, have a way to like check the prescription on your existing glasses. Also, can give you a very basic, just like eye test, and then can give you the glasses. So I've bought glasses from Zoff. And then I just got these from Owndays. Those are two Japanese brands that I think are quite popular. They have stores that you can try out things on, and then all of the processes I just shared, they can do that. I think another one is called Giro. I can't remember. Um, but yeah, I think it's really convenient. You can like there's like warranties on them. You can get them adjusted. They have all different options for like lenses, and I think they're affordable, quite affordable. Like maybe the lenses start at Ichiman, which is like 10,000 yen, and then if you want any like special lenses, it adds that price. But I would say it's pretty easy, at least for glasses as a glasses wearer.
no, that's pretty solid. That's like kind of Warby Parker back home kind of situation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's where I got mine. Okay, yeah, no, that's good. I was curious because one of my worries is I only it was one of the questions that was sent to me, but I also these are the only pair I have, and I brought an old pair, but the prescription's old, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
just these break or something. Like, what am I gonna do? And
No, it's
so
pretty easy.
yeah, so especially I don't know why I'm relatively clumsy, and people seem to run into my face on a regular basis. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's very punchable or something. But like I've had my glasses knocked off like 5 or 6 times, and I'm always worried someone's gonna step on them.
Is this like outside of martial arts?
Yeah, outside of martial arts, like people
Okay,
just
okay. I was like, you have a punchable face, and I'm like, yeah, but you do martial arts. I don't know if that's specific to you.
no, I just mean like outside of martial arts. Like I'll be walking and like they'll be knocked off when I'm like dancing or whatever because I go out a lot to like salsa events or something, and like they'll just end up somehow they end up off my face, and I got these little things to help clip them in place behind my ear, but I don't know how helpful they've been. So
Maybe you gotta get they're like just little pieces of rope or like string that like
yeah,
attach to the back. That way, if they get knocked off, at least they're still on your body. They're not on
I
the floor.
I might need that. I just feel like I just feel like I just don't want to be the guy with the wrap around the back of his head on the glasses. that
Just
guy.
think of it as sports mode. Your glasses need to be into sports mode.
Sports mode, exactly. Sports mode. I'll take that. Oh, here's one. You're in all those different schools. I know those kids are um younger. Have you ever gotten caught doing anything embarrassing outside of school by a student or a student's parent?
Embarrassing. I think I'm very conscientious of the fact that my kids live around me. So
Oh,
I live in an apartment complex and some of my kids live around me. So just being like mindful about like what I'm doing, what I'm saying, how loud I'm being. Um I was this was after work. I was just driving back to my apartment, and there's a kendo studio across the street. It's like a 5 minute walk from like my junior high school. So the kids who are in kendo will walk from the school back, and along that road is my driving path home. And there was just one day where I just like had the windows rolled down, and I was just listening to music at what I thought was a normal level, and I could see my kids walking like ahead of me turn around to look at me, like maybe like 50 meters away, and I was like, y'all can hear me? And then they like saw me, they drove past, and I was like, hello, and they were like, hello. So I felt like, I don't know, maybe I got brownie points, or maybe I feel like they were cool because they were just like teenage boys. So they were just like, look at this person blasting music from her car. Who knows? Oh, one thing. So my town is an onsen town, and so I'm very nervous. I love going to the onsen. I get nervous about like if I go somewhere in my town that I will see my kids there.
okay.
And for those who don't know, like onsen are hot springs, usually natural hot springs, which is like community bathing,
Yeah.
completely naked. So I will try to like go to the next town over to go to their onsen. I will try to go late at night, like not right after school where I think my kids might be there. It gets a little nerve wracking.
I can only imagine that would be a very frightening situation. I, when I went to the Austin the Snow area in Nagano, and I walk in, and there's a bunch of high school boys in there, and I'm sitting there with this other foreign guy that I had met maybe 20 minutes before, and we're sitting there talking, and these high school boys hop in, they start talking to us, and I'm like, it's fine, but like if these are my students, it'd be really awkward. But like, if these are kids I actually knew.
Yeah.
That's a very it's quite a culture shock, I feel, as an American coming from a place where like our spas are not, at least the spas I've been to, are not really nude spas, you know?
No.
And if they are, they're 18 and up. It's like
Yeah.
for a culture shock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like the thought of community bathing, um, and just like laying it all out there. And I think for the most part, I don't get stared at anymore. Like people look, they like look when you first walk in, and they're like, whatever, like I feel like most of like the oba-chans who see me, they're just like, I've seen it all. You do not surprise me.
Yeah.
So
I also always feel like I get extra stares because I'm a foreigner. And
yeah.
it's like, normally it's just like, oh, another guy looks like me, seeing it every other day in the mirror. But it's like, oh, American. Like I just like they're gonna like look at me. It's awkward. But I don't get to go to too many onsens because there are no actual onsens in Okinawa that I'm aware of. We have some fake ones. We have some onsens that are like artificial, but I don't think we have any like actual natural ones here.
I see. Yeah, there's like a whole line of them. So many of
Oh,
them.
wait, hold on. Are you talking?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Oh, could you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you the whole time.
Okay, good. Because apparently the sound on my phone just went out, so I had to put the headphones in for my laptop.
Oh nope, I've been good. We've had a good
Okay, cool.
conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, we have really killed this thing. I don't think there's any other questions that I had planned out or thought about. Yeah, I'm good. We've also been on here. We have about an hour and I think 20 minutes now,
Yeah.
which is probably a pretty solid podcast for most people.
Yeah, I mean after you like edit it down for all of the dead time, then I'm sure
Yeah.
it'll be like an hour. So It's pretty
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Thank you for inviting me to have this conversation. It's been really fun for me.
No, yeah, it was good. And I see you also you have your YouTube up too. I will
Yeah.
send people to it. Your videos seem to be a much higher production quality than mine. You have to set my game up.
I've just been an avid YouTube watcher for a long time, and so I felt like I finally had something to make YouTube videos about. But yeah, if you want to follow me, my Insta or my YouTube is Chelsea V. You can just look that up with Jet Program. All of my videos are about Jet. I really hope that I can put one more out before I leave, but I'm really busy in these last 2 months, so but yeah, so yeah, and then you can always like message me on Instagram too if you have questions. So
Yeah. Thank you very much for being here and talking to everybody. I appreciate it.
yeah, thank you, Leo.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video with my interviews here with the ALTs. I'm looking to continue doing this and going out and reaching out to more ALTs throughout Japan. So please send me any questions that you guys might have so I can make sure that my interviews are aimed toward things you guys are interested in knowing about and hearing about. Again, I want to thank Chelsea for coming on the podcast and talking to everybody. I'm going to put links down to her YouTube down below. I also want to give a quick shout out back to Irfaan, who gave me the list of questions that we've been using for the last 2 interviews. I'll also put his information down below as well as my own. So please follow me on Instagram. Also remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you guys next time. All right, peace.